What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Adam. It's a hashtag homeless. It's day 109, and it's Memorial Day. Yeah, Labor Day. I always get these things confused because one's the beginning of summer, one's the end of summer, and that's all I have ever really. I don't get into the whole celebration aspect of it. Labor Day, celebrating labor, sounds like a communist holiday to me, but yeah, it's Labor Day, and so yeah, that means it's the end of summer. As you can see, I've got my sweater on because it was like 45 degrees outside when I came out here, and so yeah, Western New York, summer's over. A good motivator to get me to move down to Texas quicker, because I can go right back to summer. I can go right back to summer probably when I get as far south as West Virginia or Kentucky. I don't have an exact plan, but I did a little bit of research yesterday just to see like drive times. And it seems like I'm gonna leave. I think on the first day I'm gonna cover less ground, and I'm gonna pick up a rental vehicle. I have to allow for the first day. I'm gonna go 3 days, which means I'll pick up a rental car at noon on the first day, and I'll have to drop it off before noon on the third day. That's from what I recall, that's the pickup and drop off times. You don't want to be late dropping off a rental car. They'll gouge you. They will. Oh, it's ridiculous. You can't come back with an empty gas tank or a low gas tank. They'll charge you like $30 a gallon to fill the tank back up or something crazy like that. It's crazy what they'll do if you're late or if your gas tank's not full when you bring the rental car back. Let's see. Yeah. So I'm thinking I'm going to pick up the rental car on, whatever day it is. And in 2 days, 48 hours later, I should be where I need to be, which means I'm going to have the ability to sleep. It's a 24, 25 hour drive. Probably a little more with stops. So I'm going out of the 48 hours from pickup to drop off, I'll have 24 driving hours. What I do with the remaining 24 hours, who knows? But I do think that on day one, I can stop. There's a place in Kentucky that I know. I can get a minivan back there. It's not the kind of road that you need a four-wheel drive. You can get back there in a car or pretty much any vehicle you have. Some really, really, really beautiful campsites. In fact, one of the last places I camped before my arrest was the same campsite that I'm going to try and hit up on my way to Texas. And from Pittsburgh to that spot, it's like an 8-hour drive, maybe less, maybe a 7-hour drive. I'm probably going to have to stop for gas and, snacks and stuff. So, I don't know. I think that on the first day I can make it there, even if it's after dark. And even if there are 2 campsites that I would be fine with. Beautiful, beautiful, awesome campsites. One in particular that I want. So I'm going to head straight for that marker on the GPS. And if either of those campsites are taken, there is another campsite way down that road. It's kind of like a dead-end road. It's a weird, these are all dirt forest roads. But I could go back to this other campsite that I've never seen before. And that might be a cool experience to just roll the dice and go see this other campsite that I've been told about on this same road. But Also on this road, there's a little campground with like 10 or 15 campsites, and those are also free. You can just pull in, grab a site, each spot. It's a circular loop, kind of a small campground. It's got, they got the toilets and the, what do you call them? The picnic tables and the fire rings at each campsite. It's easy to pull in and out of. So one way or another, I should be able to camp for a night and just sit by the campfire and chill, relax, enjoy life for a minute, and go from there. And then wake up fresh, and I'll have about a 14-hour drive from that campsite to get to my friend's house in Texas. So that's going to be a long day. But if I leave at 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, if I leave early enough on the day that I go to my friend's house, I can be there by, 10, 11 o'clock at night, get a night's sleep, go drop off the rental car the next day and deal with the probation office and all that nonsense on, whatever I got to do on the day I arrive. And from that moment forward, I could breathe a sigh of relief. But, being able to just sit in front of a campfire and chill for a bit, that sounds like a really good idea. And I'm very familiar with that part of Kentucky. And I know I like absolutely no problem finding a place to camp. And that seems like a good distance for me to travel on day one, because it's going to allow me to have a more relaxed pace on the first day, so that unexpected things that are bound to happen, I'll have a lot of padding for that. But on the second day, the travel day, I can just get in the vehicle. I don't have any obligations. I don't have to see anybody. I'm not going on day 2 of the journey. I don't have to rely on anybody else's timetable or other factors like that. I could just get in the vehicle, hit the road, and drive. The first day of the trip, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be outside of my control, and I don't know when I'm actually going to get to leave Pittsburgh to head south. And hopefully, early enough, but there's too many unknown variables, and I'm going to be tired. And I know that if I set a bookmark on my GPS and say, take me there, I know the way. Once I get to Kentucky, once I get to the area, I know how to get to this spot without a map, without a GPS. I know it. It's in my head. I've been to this I've been to this road. I've been to these campsites at least a dozen times over the last 10 years. So it's one of my, the way I used to travel when I was a travel photographer was to camp and travel for free. So I would go up and down I would go all over the country for the cost of gasoline and food. And I really wasn't eating in restaurants. I would stop at grocery stores and pick up food, 3-4 day supply of food and snacks. And so if I did hit a restaurant somewhere, it was either out of sheer convenience, or it was because I was in an area and I'm thinking, there's this really good restaurant that I like. There's a barbecue joint in Knoxville. There's a burger joint in Asheville that I dig. The barbecue joint in Knoxville is called Sweet Peas. The burger joint in Asheville is called Juicy Lucy's. There's places like that all over the country that I love. And so if I'm near one of those spots, okay, yeah, let's go to Juicy Lucy's. We're in Asheville. Boom. And get back on the Blue Ridge Parkway and head out. So that's how I would travel. Sometimes I could be traveling, it could be 11 o'clock at night after the sunset and after I'm done taking photos of wherever I am, and then I can just be like, where's the closest free place to camp from here? Head there. Instead of taking the back roads and the lazy route, just take the interstates and the fast way. And sometimes I'll be rolling into a campsite at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. But I've done these trips so many times that between upstate New York and Florida, the tip of Florida, I'm never more than like a 2-hour drive from a place that I can either camp for free or a place that I can just pull into at midnight, drop a $5 bill in some sort of tube at a national forest or a state forest campground where there's no, human registration. You just register on your own. Or it could be a national park with a self-registration box or something like that where you're pulling in at who knows when. And you're giving yourself the freedom and flexibility to just show up when you show up. And so I have a whole network of these things going all different directions around the country as I travel, because and as I find them, I bookmark them in this app called Locust Maps. And so I can pull up a 20-year-old database of waypoints as I'm driving on a different map application, and I can say, oh yeah, that looks good. Here's where I am. Here's all the dots that I know. These are the ones that I know. I've been there. I've bookmarked them in person. I can just head to one of these dots and see what's up. And so, I can work my way all the way from the top of New York down to the bottom of Florida with, no concern about where I'm going to sleep each night, because I know I'm never more than a couple hours away from the next one on the map. And I know that. So on the way from the route from Pittsburgh to where my friend lives in Tennessee, the spot in Kentucky is pretty much right on the way. Not really exactly on the way that Google would tell you to go if you were taking the interstates the entire way, even if I turn off the option for I want to avoid tolls. I don't want to pay any tolls. So that really, turning off tolls didn't even add any time to the straight shot drive. It changed the route a little bit, but it didn't add any time to the drive. But the drive was going to take me through Lexington, Kentucky, and I believe I think it was going to take me over to Cincinnati and then south from Cincinnati through Louisville and down through Lexington, perhaps. I can't remember if Louisville was one of the cities on the way, but definitely through the middle of Lexington and south from there. And so I adjusted it to take me through Moorhead and down through Stearns, Kentucky, which is near the border of Tennessee. And then when I cross into Tennessee, I'll just scoot back over to Nashville and down. And so, but there's some really awesome campsites that aren't, I'm adding maybe 2 hours to a total, a 22-hour drive will become a 24 or 5-hour drive because of that excursion to go to these campsites. But it's a great spot to camp. It's a really awesome place to camp. And so I'm looking forward to that, just to unwind and let my mind it'll be like the first day of freedom I've really had since getting released from prison, to be honest. The first night where I can just sit outside all night you know what I mean? Like, just have total freedom for a night. I'm looking forward to it. So that is my rough plan. I really just have to figure out the dates, get the best deal on the vehicle I'm trying to get, and then figure out some other things. And I'm kind of leaving it up to God too, because I think something might be able to shake itself out that'll work out to be a really good deal. And so I don't know, I'm looking forward to it. But I have a rough plan. I just have to try to solidify my plan, hopefully by the end of the day today. And then I can tell everybody that needs to know, and we'll go from there. Yesterday, after I shot yesterday's video here in the park, I had a talk and a walk with the good Lord about all the new things I'm worried about, now that the other things that I was worried about have been figured out. And I was also talking to him about, how absurd it is to keep finding new things to worry about all the time as soon as the original things that you were worried about are no longer relevant, And I was at Farm Fresh Foods. I was eating 2 cannolis for breakfast. Or, I don't know, is it cannoli? Or is the plural of a cannoli or is it cannolis? I don't know. Maybe that there's an Italian in the audience that can let me know. But all I know is I was sitting there, and after I had this conversation with God about how I found a bunch of new things to worry about, even though he just went and solved all the things that I was worried about, and how that's just a pattern of life, and, accept it for what it is and move on. As I'm sitting there eating my cannoli or my cannolis, all I know is I was sitting there, in this very bad remix of Bob Marley's Don't Worry About a Thing, Everything Is Gonna Be All Right, came on over the loudspeaker in the grocery store as I was sitting there. And it was a terrible, terrible techno remix with auto-tune and pretty much every bad thing that they could put in a song. But I thought it was pretty funny that he was answering me like that and just telling me don't worry about a thing, everything's going to be all right. So I took the advice and just let it go for the rest of the day and enjoyed the day yesterday. I went on this walk. I was kind of talking to God about how it seems like everything I've been worried about since the day I got homeless never materializes. One thing after the next, after the next, after the next. Well, what if this happens? What if that happens? Well, what if? And all of these what ifs never materialize. So sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's a curse to be able to think of the worst case scenario in just about every situation of what could happen. And that's just, something I do. But if I really get into all the predictions that I've had since I got released from prison about all the bad things that can happen, only one of the predictions came true out of all the predictions that I was making or have made since the day I was released. And the one that came true was being thrown out into the street to be homeless. In fact, I knew that was going to happen from within 1 or 2 days of being home from prison. I knew this was happening. It still took about a month and some change after the fact for it to really happen. But within 2 days, I was telling people, I think she's going to throw me out in the street and I'm going to end up homeless. And the people I'm saying this to, probably 2 or 3 people I said this to, were like, no, she's not that much of a bitch. No, I think you're overthinking things. And I'm like, I don't think I am. That's the thing. I don't think I'm overthinking this one. And I'm like, here's why. And it was like 45 days or so after I was released from prison that this, person threw me out into the street. And I ended up homeless. And but the trauma from that one prediction coming true, and as bad of a situation as it was, it has me in my mind, now I'm expecting the worst in every situation. Like, I'm literally sitting here right now thinking about this rental van or getting a rental car or whatever I end up getting to drive down there with. Well, what if it breaks down? What if you go back to that campsite and it doesn't start the next day? You know what I mean? Like, I can think of 1,000 things to worry about. And it reminds me of this book I was reading. Ken Follett, the author, the Kingsbridge series. It was one of the books in the Kingsbridge series, set in, England during the period after King Alfred united the kingdoms to the 4 separate kingdoms to become England. And it takes place in that time period, like King Henry, not King Henry the 8th, but one of the original King Henrys, in that time period. I can't remember the years, but there was a quote in that book, and I'm paraphrasing it, where they were talking about the pilgrims when they travel to when the pilgrims travel to the New World. And I don't know which book this quote is in, because these books are about a 100 to 200 year span during each book, and then the books themselves are at least 100 or 200 years apart in the series. So they were talking about pilgrims coming to the New World and taking this treacherous journey. And the book basically said that if these pilgrims, there's so many things that could go wrong, and the journey was so dangerous, etc., that if the pilgrims contemplated too much on everything that could possibly go wrong, they would probably never leave home and go on the trip. And so, I definitely could relate to that, because I go on lots of trips. I travel a lot. I do things for fun that are dangerous and unpredictable. And it's true, if you sit there and you contemplate too much about every possible thing that could go wrong, you will literally talk yourself out of doing the thing. You're going on a road trip to some pretty remote places. Some of these times I go by myself. I've been in situations where I've been stranded out in the middle of nowhere with a vehicle that won't start because squirrels climbed up into the vehicle and chewed the wiring. Things like that. And what do? You can mitigate some of those things. Well, you have a bicycle. You can, bicycle's gonna, if you have to walk, better pack a backpack, because you're looking at a 30-mile hike to get help. But a 30-mile bicycle ride is 3 hours. So, you've got these kinds of things. Anything can go wrong, but you will talk yourself out of doing things left and right if you sit there and let that fear drive the wheel. That's all I'm saying. And so with that, I was reading Jesus Calling, as I do, not every single day, but when I do read it, I only read the entry for that particular day. And I've been reading this book for a couple of years, so at some point, I will have read the entire book, if I haven't already. But on September 1st, which was yesterday, Jesus Calling says, "Seek me with your whole being. I desire to be found by you, and I orchestrate the events of your life with that purpose in mind. When things go well and you are blessed, you can feel me smiling on you." Now, I definitely can feel that right now. When you encounter rough patches along your life journey, trust that my light is shining upon you. My reasons for allowing these adversities may be shrouded in mystery, but my continual presence with you is an absolute promise. Seek me in good times, seek me in hard times. You will find me watching over you all the time. And so, his reasons for allowing these adversities may be shrouded in mystery. How many times have I said in these videos, I can't understand why all this is happening. Why do I have to go through this? How much longer do I have to do all these different things? And then I have this weird encounter a couple of weeks ago at the Tim Hortons when I kicked off the Synchronicity series of videos. And ever since, it's been just boom, 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 boom. And it's almost like I can now see certain things that might be the reasons for allowing all these adversities. They are no longer completely shrouded in mystery. I don't know exactly how things are going to work out, but if things go the direction that I see them going right now, it's still going to be a scary ride with all kinds of need to just hold on to the bar of the roller coaster and have faith that God's going to keep the thing from falling off the tracks. But I can see that there could be a reason I had to go through this. And I don't know, there's some things I don't like about it, but it's starting to make more sense. And I'll leave it at that. In Touch magazine, I was reading that yesterday as well, the daily devotional part. And that said, faith is the heart of our Christian life. It's how we are saved, receive forgiveness for our sins, enjoy a personal relationship with God, and have assurance of eternal life in His presence. By faith, we experience the peace of God and the power of the Holy Spirit. Yet at times, our life and prayers are plagued by doubts. Yeah. Our faith wavers when we apply human thinking to our circumstances. Sometimes God may require us to do something with which human reasoning disagrees. I've shared a lot of those stories on these videos. The first thing that pops into my mind are times when I've had to stand up for myself at a company and either quit a job or get fired from a job for making a stand, which human reasoning disagrees. I told you guys a story in one of the videos about how a girl that I was dating dumped me on my ass because I quit a job that was toxic. And so if I was letting her thoughts and feelings drive my decision making, I would have been miserable. But I went with what God was telling me to do and quit that job. She walked out the door, and then my life just took off in a positive direction, and I ended up with a better job. I ended up with a paid summer vacation to spend the whole summer with my son, doing all kinds of crazy cool things and having all kinds of freedom all summer. And, it just went from there. The second thing, our faith wavers when we allow our feelings to overcome our faith. Perhaps feelings of unworthiness, fear, or inadequacy cause us to doubt we can do what the Lord asks. Yeah, tried being in prison for 19 months with 20 months, whatever it was, with no contact with the outside world. It was exactly 600 days. 600 days I was locked up with no contact with the outside world except for 2 people, 3 people. Maybe 4, and feeling like everybody out there in the world hated my guts, and feeling unworthy, having fear of coming home to all this, and inadequacy, like how am I ever going to put a life together after this whole nonsense and everything else. Our faith also wavers when we fail to see God at work in our circumstances. Doubts creep in when we have asked Him to take action, but nothing appears to be happening. How many times in these videos have I kept saying, I keep asking Him for help, but I don't see anything happening. I don't see it. I'm going to have, I keep saying that all it takes is one phone call, one email, one situation, one circumstance can change, and then everything falls into place, and everything takes like a 180-degree turn, sometimes in the blink of an eye, just as fast and just as quick as the FBI, hogtied me and threw me in the back of a vehicle and took me to prison. But I've had a lot of doubt over the last few months, for sure. Our faith wavers when we have guilt over sin, past or present. I just talked about that a little bit. We cannot operate with strong faith when we are mindful of ongoing sin or dwelling on guilt over past wrongdoing. There are people in the comment section on these videos who show up and troll the comment section, basically saying you're just a piece of shit felon. You deserve to suffer for the rest of your life. You haven't learned from what you did, your attitude, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. And what this thing right here is saying, that you can't operate with any faith if you're going to dwell on guilt over past wrongdoing. So I'm not going to walk around every day dwelling on what happened, not because I believe it wasn't the wrong thing to do, but because if that's all I'm going to do every day, at the end of the day, I'm just going to be not moving forward with my life. And so, morning. So, Hold on a minute. I'll do a time check here. What the All right, so let's see. So this one wraps up with faith is defined as the certainty of things hoped for, a proof of things not seen. Do confidence and conviction describe the condition of your faith? And so, yeah, it is. It's, even though you can't see what's happening and what's going on, and you can't see around the corner, you can't see through the wall that's in front of you, whatever the case may be, do you have the confidence to know that if you keep moving forward, if you keep asking God for help, do you have the confidence to know that he's going to come through for you at some point? That maybe not know, you might not know when. I've been asking for him to put things back together for over 2 years now, since the day the FBI showed up at my house. And I've been waiting for my turn, if you will. Not just through the homeless situation, but through the whole situation that started on August 12th, 2022. And so, oh my God, dude. Anyway, I'm going to hit stop for a minute. Sucks. Well, that took a little bit longer than I thought to get back to the video here. There was a guy walking 2 dogs, and that's the one I said, hey, what's up to? And he kind of like hung out at this signboard that's like right next to me. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to wait until he's gone because it's not that I care about. I'm on YouTube, so thousands of people are going to see the things I'm saying, and so that's not the issue. The issue is when someone's hovering right near me, I can't concentrate on what I'm doing, and I lose my train of thought because now I'm like, what's this guy doing? What's this guy doing? And so I'm like that at my job too. I don't work well at a company where people come and hover over you and watch what you're doing or what's on your screen, or coming up to you all day. Like there's my buddy works for a company that tracks your mouse movement all day, because people work from home, don't work, they think, and so they track your mouse movement, and if your mouse stops moving for a certain period of time, someone's going to be up your ass about it. And it's like, I don't know, maybe I had to sit and think about something for a minute. I don't know, so now they've got these things you can buy on Amazon called a mouse jiggler. You just set your mouse on this little rotating thing, and it basically just makes your mouse move all over the screen to trick the Big Brother mouse tracker software. It's like, come on, man. But no, if someone's like this hovering over me while I'm trying to work all day and being like, what are you up to? What are you up to? What are you up to? I'm not going to get anything done. So I need to be left the fuck alone. And so that's the issue when people start hanging out around my we'll call it my personal space. Well, then the other guy, the other dog walker that I met the other day, who I'm doing some work for now, he shows up. The dogs get into a big fight, start growling and barking at each other, and the one with the 2 dogs is like in a wrestling match with his leash and drags them off to the sunrise. And so then me and this other guy were sitting here talking for a bit, and so yeah, now I've lost my whole train of thought on what I was talking about before that, but that's why I have my handy notes, and I just have to open up this file and figure out why it didn't just stay open. And here we are. Okay, we were talking about faith, and faith being defined as the certainty of things hoped for, a proof of things not seen. Do confidence and conviction describe the condition of your faith? So, yeah, there is that whole, I always talk about, I don't have a problem believing God can do something. I feel like he can do anything he wants. He's God. He made the universe. He made everything in it. He can do what he wants. So anytime I'm having a problem with my faith, it's will he do it? Will he do it? And I think any of us are going to go through that. I did read Jesus Calling again today because I had some time this morning before I left the shelter. I was waiting for my phone to charge to an appropriate level. And today's Jesus Calling was right in line with everything I'm thinking as well. And it says, living in dependence on me is a glorious adventure. Most people scurry around busily, trying to accomplish things through their own strength and ability. Some succeed enormously, others fail miserably. But both groups miss what life is meant to be, living and working in collaboration with me. When you depend on me continually, your whole perspective changes. You see miracles happening all around, while others see only natural occurrences and coincidences. You begin each day with joyful expectation, watching to see what I will do. You accept weakness as a gift for me, knowing that my power plugs in most readily to consecrated weakness. You keep your plans tentative, knowing that my plans are far superior. You constantly live, move, and have your being in me, desiring that I live in you. I in you, and you in me. This is the intimate adventure I offer you. And so, yeah, I'm doing a whole series on synchronicity about how some people only see natural occurrences and coincidences as they move through life, and they don't see when things are so ridiculous and the mathematical probability of some of these so-called coincidences is so astronomically unlikely that they're not a coincidence anymore. I can tell you that for sure over the last 2 weeks. The next video in the Synchronicity series is going to be stuff that happened back in like the mid-1990s up through, I think I said it was going to be cover up to about 2009 or so, somewhere in that range. 2006 maybe, I can't remember exactly when, but there's a whole branch of the Synchronicity stuff that I have wrote down to talk about. I'm just not done yet. Mostly because of the last 2 weeks worth of synchronicity has just, as soon as I started doing the videos about synchronicity just went off into the stratosphere. So I'm supposed to tell you all this stuff in a structured way, but I don't know when and how it's going to all, come together. So, yeah, the coincidences and just waking up each day wondering what he's going to do. That's something that, and I've been in the situation where you can grind and you can accomplish things on your own. Sometimes you succeed and sometimes you fail. And that'll happen even when you're living by faith and waiting for God to do things for you and open up doors and all that kind of thing. But when you're in sync with the direction that you're supposed to go, you really will start to feel that you are not doing it anymore. That the coincidences are just too absurd and too unlikely to, the last 2 weeks is going to be a video on synchronicity. Just the last 2 weeks of stuff that's happened. There's a couple of things I'm not talking about right now, but I'm starting to figure out why they're happening. God's just trying to tell something to me, and he's joking around. He keeps putting something in front of my face day after day after day, to the point where the number of times it happens each day is so absurd and ridiculous that it makes no sense. Unless you just look at it like it's, and then I think I figured out what the message is and what I'm supposed to do whenever he puts this thing in front of me. I'm supposed to do something. And just, it's a joke that he's playing with me because, you know, God has a sense of humor too. So anyway, I'm just going to leave that there. But it'll be in the synchronicity series when I get to it. And then today I also read In Touch magazine, and it talks about building trust when faith is unsteady. So it's all in alignment with what I'm actually going through and feeling and all this stuff right now. And that's why I'm sharing it in the video today. It says, if believing God is difficult in this season of your life, draw closer to him for the help you need. Okay, here we go. Since trusting God is foundational for Christians, the consequences of wavering faith can be far-reaching. Sometimes after praying for direction, we might receive an answer that leads us to think, I can't do that. So instead of obeying and asking God to strengthen our faith, we may choose to postpone or compromise our obedience. But partial obedience is actually disobedience. And when our faith falters, it can result in poor choices that prove costly. For example, the Israelites wandered 40 years in the desert because the nation allowed unbelief to overtake their faith. Their wavering trust made them miss out on God's intended blessings. When we are spiritually unsteady, we can easily be shaken by little things. Instead of standing firm, we may find our confidence eroding. I've been there. This is all stuff I'm going through right now. Then we become less willing to take a risk when God asks us to do so. Certainly, it's much. When I'm in the situation I'm in right now, taking a risk feels a lot more risky than taking a risk would have felt back before I was arrested and this whole nightmare began. But rather than acting with certainty, we question and doubt what we are hearing from the Lord. I mean, I can think of that in terms of just the call to start my own business and to start moving in that direction and to not go wearing myself out looking for a job in a market where nobody wants to hire me. It felt risky to, I felt like I need to be pouring everything I have into finding this job because people are breathing down my neck and people, there are people who have the power to throw me back in a prison cell if I can't find a job. Like for that reason and for that reason alone, they could do it. And so, of course, it's a risk to just say, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go start my own business. But it's like the more steps I took in that direction, the more the universe just said, okay, God's just like, I'm going to open this door. I'm going to open this door. I'm going to come and meet you here. I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to carry you over there and drop you off at the right place at the right time. And all these things are just boom, 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 falling into place. But when I'm sitting there day after day after day trying to find a job, it's like boom, 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 boom. I'm banging my head against a brick wall, and all I'm getting at the end of the day is a headache, and I'm never going to get to the other side of the wall. So, and I feel that. And so, once again, rather than acting with certainty, I was questioning and doubting what I'm hearing from God. And my joy was diminishing because my wavering faith had led me away from God's will. And, I was less willing to take a risk when God was asking me to take one. And I'm still kind of in this, what do I do? I'm still like, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells still, but I'm going to just have faith that, like, for example, the Texas situation, there are a couple of different things I could do right now in the situation I'm in. And the decision to whether, do I stay in Jamestown and tough it out? Do I go to Pittsburgh and be with my kids, or do I go to Texas? because this business is starting to look like it's going to take off. It hasn't taken off just yet, but it's right on the knife's edge of that. And so I kind of said, okay, I'm like, well, if God really doesn't want me to go to Texas, if he would rather me do something else, then God is just going to drop a brick wall right in front of me and keep me from going there. But otherwise, I feel like that's where I'm supposed to go right now. And I don't even know the reason why, 100%. I'm not going to complain about skipping winter. I'm not going to complain. But none of these choices, none of these things are easy. And also, I'm not going to rock the boat with probation after I just went through this whole thing to move down there. If I'm going to be relying on a bicycle for transportation until I can afford a set of wheels, if my wheels are self-propelled, I would rather be riding a bicycle around Houston, Texas when it's 75 degrees outside than riding a bicycle in 6 feet of snow in Jamestown, having to bring my mountain bike up with the fat tires just because it's going to be winter soon, and my skinny tire road bike is not going to fare well in 3 feet of snow. And so I got a lot of different things just all telling me, get to Texas, you'll figure it out, everything's going to work out. And the inner peace. So this thing says, we may also find joy diminishing because our wavering faith has led us away from God's will. The inner peace that we once enjoyed evaporates as our faith weakens. That's true. I'm going through that. And it also says, no matter how unsteady our faith, God invites us to draw near so he can strengthen our trust in him. When he does, accept his invitation and give him the glory. And with that, I got to wrap this up because I'm going to go do some things today and take care of some things and go meet with some people and just get some things done. And the battery on my phone is about to drop dead. So that's a perfect time to end this and wrap this up. And so I hope y'all have a good day, and we'll talk again tomorrow. Peace out.